Are we? We're doing. Are we posting this as one?
Yeah.
Thought so, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Let's keep going. Glad we divided the story into two.
Well, it's good to take a breather. I think we
An
didn't even
emotional
realize we need
check-in.
one. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Part two. Part two.
Part
Chapter
two.
four.
Part two.
There's more. Part two.
Meanwhile, on
really quick, when we post it, we should do part 1 and 2.
there we go. Meanwhile, on Asgard, spelled with the perfect umlaut this time, Spock and Dobby were unraveling more and more sordid family history. Not only were the Asgardians forcing innocent Wooby Loki to marry the beautiful Princess Nick Fury, they'd also driven him to act out by lashing out at his brother and running off and having children illegitimately. Even worse, his son, a horse.
I didn't think it could get worse.
Even worse, we know what you're thinking.
Yeah. Not a
We
cow.
were just
Let's all
saying
say
is
it all
there-
together.
Yeah. You thought cow. You didn't think it could get worse than a
Yeah.
cow. And we're like, no, it's a fucking
Every
horse.
parent's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
In case you were wondering about what we were talking about before we recorded, Dawson has foot and mouth, which we were confusing with, which Lindsay confused with hoof and mouth.
And this is perfect.
This-
Lindsay's son.
His
Oh,
horse
my
son
son.
definitely has hoof and
A
mouth.
horse.
Even worse, Lindsay's son, a horse.
You know, have you heard that Justin Timberlake when he got arrested? He's like, "This is going to ruin the world tour."
Yeah.
This is that. Even worse, his son.
Even
horse.
worse. Oh.
What in
Oh
the
my
ever-loving heck?
Oh,
these
this is
people have been doing to
awesome.
that kid was anyone's guess. Though in their defense, it was very politically important to have a son married off to the Earth Princess Nick Furioso, so there wouldn't be a horrible war. But since Loki didn't want to, there was no solution. How horrible! Dobby sighed. He was very sad they couldn't think of a way to help. Spock also sighed because he was also sad.
Oh,
And
yeah.
all the Asgardians sighed because they shipped it very hard, but their ship wasn't going very well. What with Loki crying to not be included in it. And all around them.
Danny, did you have, is this ship on that sticker that we're sending out? Oh, it's a big
Okay,
miss
let's
on
see.
our part.
We got Danbo, Finbo, Finpo, Wolfstar, John Locke, Stucky, Densa, Drary, we have Destiel.
Oh, we
He's
do.
on
Oh my
there. They're on there.
gosh.
And Britannia.
Wow.
Even worse, his son, a horse.
A horse.
That's on the back. That's the reverse side of the sticker.
Maybe I haven't written everybody's notes to get them out, so that's what I'll do. I've got bad news.
Sorry. Sorry, this is late. I just found out my son's a horse.
This is a really upsetting news.
Oh, Adam, baby, it's a horse.
It's a boy, but you scratch out B and Y and write H.
I did this the third time. It's a horse.
That's a horse.
And all around them, everyone was getting ready for the wedding. Well, they were unable to even call Darth Vader and hear if he got a wedding dress, or what flavor the cake was going to be, or any of the other millions of important details about their big day. What'eth areth youth so saddeth abouteth? Asked Thor, who had been walking past them on the pretty balcony, eating 5 Pop-Tarts.
You think it's like a
Like
fan?
this.
It's like this, or
No,
like a
I think
sandwich?
it's like a tall, like a triple decker club sandwich.
If you if you had to eat 5 Pop-Tarts, I think I would do a fan what would you do? Would you do the 5?
But you have to eat
stack?
them at once. You can't, if they're in a fan, you can't eat them at once.
Oh, you're right. You can't just do a little
You got the only way is to stack them.
like Marco eating corn.
Like Mark's so good at it.
Oh my god, stupid.
We're getting married to Darth Vader, and we can't be there to plan. But we can't abandon your brother to go home because he wants to ride through the glen with his hair flowing in the breeze, and he doesn't want to get married, said Dobby. There is no logical solution, Spock added. One of the Asgardian royal family must marry Princess Nick Fury. I feeleth foreth mine brothereth Loki, though if he isn't being a littleth dramaticaleth.
Why Why can't Thor marry him?
I think that's
Also-
the solution we're about to come to.
Does
Yeah.
Thor talk like that? Because does he do THs because his name is spelled
Thor.
Like his name is actually
Thor-
like Soar.
He's like so into the TH of his name.
It's just like
Yeah.
huge.
Princess Nick Fury is the prettiest of princesses, and I wouldeth gladlieth have her, but the weddingeth must go oneth. It's a real pickle, Bobby Squeak.
Tough titties. Tough titties.
Oh, boo, ba boop, boop, ba doop, boop.
At the Starship Voyager, the Space Pope, Benedict Grubelfrackle. That's like when you had me read names.
It is. Yeah.
Benedict Grubelfrackle had arrived, and Darth Vader was freaking out. Nothing was ready. Spock and Dobby hadn't called back. The Pope's quarters weren't ready. He didn't even have a dress yet, and the guests were still arriving in droves. If only Spock and Dobby hadn't had so many friends, they'd saved because they were space police.
And
But
everyone
he had to
knows how
pull him-
favorable the police are at this time in the galaxy.
So many friends.
So many friends.
If I've saved you, and I've saved you a seat. Come to my wedding.
I'll save you if you save the date. For my wedding to Spock.
Save the universe? No. Save the date. But he had to pull himself together. If Spock and Dobby could save Asgard from war, he could plan one little wedding.
But they can't.
You must be
so
the
he
lovely.
can't.
You must be the lovely bride, Benedict. Mix of letters. Hissed politely.
Benedict, my cat walked across my laptop. Hissed politely.
He hissed politely, as he was, of course, a space lizard. Nice to meet you, Darth Vader.
Obviously.
Nice to meet you too, Pope Benedict Cucumber Patch. Darth Vader replied politely. Please have a seat at the bar. I'm sure there's plenty of... Oh, God, no, not that. Just then, Emperor Palpatine walked in and sat right down next to where Darth Vader had been pointing the Pope. Hi, Darth, he said cheerfully. Hi, Pope Honey Cheeks. And then he farted.
Oh.
Darth
Shots
Vader
fired.
I didn't know there was this much fart. I didn't know there was any farting in this story before I said yes to being here. Just for the
I do have to admit,
Had
I
we known, we
skimmed
would have proved
ahead
it
and I was
sooner.
like, this is going to be crazy, but I didn't realize it would make so much sense.
I would
I didn't
just
realize
tie
it would.
together seamlessly.
a masterclass in plot.
Darth Vader impulsively did the only thing he could think of and grabbed Palpatine, hauling him out of his seat. I need to go get a dress. I need to go get a dress. Just kidding. Come with me to get a dress, he said. More panic in his voice than he wanted to let through. He couldn't just let Emperor Palpatine call the Pope Honey Cheeks. You
Oh.
just don't do that.
That's where we draw the line in all of this. Is honey cheeks.
That's just
As
wedding
if the-
etiquette. That's wedding etiquette.
Not the
As if the Force heard Darth Vader's distress and decided to take a big fat dump on top of it. Uhura skanked in. Sup, bitches, she said. You look like a tramp, Vader. And she saw the Pope, and a sudden malevolent smile slid onto her face. We're getting a wedding dress, Palpatine said, cheerfully oblivious. Yes, Darth Vader said, afraid of what Uhura might say to the Pope in his absence. You should come. You're so stylish. At the wedding dress shop, there's shops for that, right? I don't know. There is in space.
only in space.
Elaine's baby.
That is a question of reality. Are there wedding dress shops?
We can't say. We can't say
At the
for
wedding,
sure.
at the wedding dress shop was a lovely little shop where Darth Vader might have been comfortable, noting the lovely cream color in the decor and the faint smell of lavender, if he hadn't been on the third fucking hour of trying on dresses that Palpatine all deemed slutty. Slut this, slut that. And everything that wasn't a traditional Sith robe was slutty, according to him. Well, excuse Darth Vader if he didn't want 6 kilos of fabric draped over his already heavy black respirator suit that he, for obvious reasons, could not take off.
So is
Luke and
so
Leia.
does he have to keep the whole garb on with like the cape and everything? So it's just a dress on top of the existing. Oh,
which is
great.
I
slutty.
think he might take off the cape, but
Yeah. What a slut with that big with the big Darth
Your
mask and
respirator
full body
showing.
armor. Yeah.
I'm tempted.
Luke and Leia weren't helping either. Luke had, 5 minutes into trying the first dress, declared himself bored, and he was periodically making whining groans just to signify how bored he was. Leia was busy declaring every dress in the store cute and lobbying for Darth Vader to wear it, which was sweet, really, but half the dresses had already been declared slut dresses by Emperor Palpatine. Uhura was, curiously enough, the quietest of them. She just sat there with an unpleasant smirk that got wider and wider every time Darth Vader cringed at being called a slut. There was no doubt he'd never hear the end of what a slut he was from her.
Pew, 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 pew.
On Asgard, the wedding preparations were also in full swing. Great big pumpkins were brought in for the feast, and decorations were being hung, and shitloads of mead were being brought in all amidst the people in shiny tight spandex who were arriving to attend the ceremony. It was very arousing and sad for Loki at the same time. But the closer the wedding ceremony got, the less it seemed that Spock and Dobby could think of to help. It all culminated in Loki running panically in a wedding dress up to Spock and Dobby shrieking, "Help me, Spock and Dobby. Oh my God, the ceremony is almost starting."
You guys, first of all, they can't think of anyone else in town, anyone else to marry him, anyone else in space. And secondly, they're going to take his dress back to Darth. That's what I
They
think.
better.
Well,
You guys-
they'll be like, go
I love
run.
that.
Why was Thor not a viable option?
I don't know. He just said
The wedding
He
had
just
to
said
happen.
like
the
it's
wedding.
already
He can't.
It's already being played.
Yeah.
The save the dates are already out.
Sorry. Just because decorum.
Okay.
Big Emily Post guy.
We're sorry, Dobby squeaked, but we can't think of anything. If only we had more time. It would be logical that would help us think of something, Spock said. They thought very hard, and then suddenly Spock's mighty logic skills came up with a plan. But first, they had to get to Thor.
Boop, beep, boop, boop.
When Darth Vader had finally found a dress, though still, according to Palpatine, a somewhat slutty one, they returned to the starship Fisher-Price to find the tables had been moved and the seating plan was horribly out of order. Even worse, the cake had shown up and nobody put it in the refrigerator, and none of the rooms for the guests were ready yet. And Anne of Green Gables and her many, many pregnant wives and husbands had shown up and were listening to Uhura of all people and her undoubtedly skanky lies.
I
Okay,
hate when that
Wango.
happens.
Does anybody Wango on Anne of Green Gables and her many, many pregnant wives and
We
husbands?
should, if there was ever a Wango to be
Wow.
Wangoed,
Wow.
we should have done a fandom Wango. Like, what fandoms do you think would show up in the story? Also, is this Uhura's doing? Is she the one that's moving tables, like sowing chaos?
She was at the wedding dress shop being a skanky slut.
Oh, that's right. Oh my God, who the hell is it? Oh my God,
That was her Asabai. Darth Vader should have known something was up when she rushed ahead on the way home. Oh, so maybe.
Oh,
And
So
he
you guys-
chose the.
All the guests are in for like the rehearsal dinner. Like the wedding's not starting. They're just all trying to like check in and stuff. That's why this, but like
Sounds
still
like
things
it.
are going badly, but it's not
Yeah.
like the ceremony is
Yeah.
about to begin. Got
Yeah.
it.
And he chose the sluttiest dress. Uhura finished skankily, making several of Anne of Green Gables' wives gasp. Told you it was slutty. Palpatine mumbled. Darth Vader sighed, ready to let it go, but Leia seemingly had other plans and almost shrieked out, "The dress isn't slutty. You're just being a butthole." "It is too," Uhura said. "No, it isn't," Luke said interruptingly as he pulled said dress out of a bag. "It's right here."
See?
This is perfectly tasteful.
So what? You can see my nipple in my back hair. Just the one. See, Uhura skanked triumphantly. "Slutty as all fuck." Then Leia pushed her. Then she pushed back. Then Leia pushed her again. And the catalog she stole back in chapter 1, callback, fell out of her pocket. Uhura grabbed at the catalog, but Leia was too fast and snatched the other end. They pulled at it and fought over it, yelling at each other to stop stealing and being such a skank, and to fuck off and slut it up with your slutty slut-ass dad for several minutes before the catalog suddenly tore in two, sending them each flying in opposite directions. Leia bumped into Luke, who bumped into the cake that was still standing out, getting the wedding dress soiled and the cake ruined, and Uhura landed on her skanky ass right in the middle of the floor. The room was silent for a minute. Then Uhura got up and skanked off, happily to have ruined the wedding.
Happily to have ruined Lee, the wedding Lee.
Ruined Lee, the wedding Lee.
You guys, why was she invited? I don't remember. Like,
I think she invited her
was
herself.
Spock? Okay, I don't know. If
Seems
Spock
like the type of guy that like would want to be friends with his ex.
Yeah, he's all about logic. The logical thing to do is to invite her.
Like,
we actually call it his Twitters, not his exes.
Yeah.
Just in time for new guests to arrive,
Got it.
Vader choked back his tears and made ready to get everyone settled, deciding he would have to fix the cake later, and maybe the dress if he could. He just
How am I going to get cake out of all of this mesh?
He just had to find a couple people to finally put the cake in the damn refrigerator, and he'd be good. He could still save this wedding. He found Jim and Blair that were really more Spock and Dobby's friends, but that he knew a little, and steered through the crowd towards them, calling out their names. Unfortunately, as he came close, he saw that they were both high off their ass on sex pollen.
Okay, wait. I don't know who Jim and Blair
are
as a couple, but I'm thinking like, is Jim from The Office and Blair from what's the show? Blake Lively. What is it?
Not from the Witch Project.
Gossip Girl?
Gossip Girl. Wasn't she Blair? Wasn't someone Blair?
This says Jim and Blair on fan lore are from a 1996 sci-fi show called The Sentinel, and they're two men. Special Forces leader Jim Ellison and Detective Jim. Oh, and Blair Sandberg. I don't know.
Oh, and what's the show? The Sentinel?
The Sentinel from 1996.
Of course.
Yeah, obviously. Okay.
So Jim Ellison is a superpowered cop, and Blair is his unofficial partner.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, perfect.
Sure.
The cops are all arriving. Great. Okay.
I think Marco is upstairs recording a recipe video. So like I'm downstairs shouting about Spock, saving Loki from a bad wedding, and he's up there like putting tuna in something. So just in case you were wondering what is happening in this
household, it's
the
basically
natural
like
order of things.
Let's see, you're in Asgard, and he's back. He's doing the Darth stuff. Yeah, the cake.
yeah. Matt's like upstairs, like closing deals. At the Lefebvre household.
Yeah, he is. I can hear him walking around upstairs. I'm like, honey, can you go upstairs? I have some important work calls to be on.
Big work calls.
Yeah.
Hello, Darth Vader. Congratulations on your wedding. Want some pollen? Jim said. Blair nodded.
Sex pollen.
It's good stuff, he agreed. Guys, not in front of my kids, Darth Vader protested. In fact, weren't one of you guys allergic to that stuff? Not anymore, Blair enthused. We're both good to go, thanks to Dobby's magical healing cock. Oh. We're so looking forward to thanking him again, Jim said.
So this wedding is a bunch of their exes.
This is literally like a wedding of bunch of their nightmares. A bunch of their Twitters.
Unfortunately, just then, Uhura lost the grip on the stolen catalog, sending it flying across the room and right into Jim, who was holding a huge bag of sex pollen, spreading it all over the room. For a moment, everybody froze. Then chaos broke out. Captain Kirk humped everything in sight. Emperor Palpatine spooged on the Pope. Styles and Hulk fucked without a condom and immediately got the clap. Anna Green Gables screwed her millions of wives all at once with her giant cock. And in the middle of it was Darth Vader, whose suit had saved him from getting affected, and Luke and Leia, who were too young to be really into it, but they were making disturbing eyes at each other. It was just too much for Darth Vader to handle. The cake was ruined. The dress was ruined. Spock and Dobby weren't there, and every bit of planning he'd done kept getting ruined. He cried a single crystalline tear, grabbed Luke and Leia, hauling them away from the sexing and into their separate rooms, returned to his, Spock, and Dobby's room, and started sobbing.
I mean, just when you think things couldn't get worse, Like someone shows up with
Beep,
sex
pollen.
pollen.
Boop, boop, boop. Beep, boop, boop, boop.
Whateth iseth youreth planeth? Thor asked Spock and Dobby now that they had gotten him. All right, this is a bit complicated, Spock answered, but you and Loki are brothers. Yeseth. That makes you and Loki related. Yeseth. This makes both of you members of the same family. Yeseth. Therefore, you are both Asgardian royalty. Yeseth. And Nick Fury needs to marry an Asgardian royal prince. Yeseth. But what does all this have to do with us? Thor wailed. Logically, both you or Loki could marry him, and it would still count, and there wouldn't be war. You can marry Nick Fury, Thor. Hadeth diggeth, Thor claimed joyously, as he secretly harbored quite a crush on the beautiful princess. Hadeth diggeth. But
Diggity.
what about all the
Diggity.
Hadeth diggityeth. But what about all the Asgardians who ship Loki Nick Fury? Asked Dobby. They'll never change their ship. We'll have to go nuclear on this one, Spock said. You don't mean, Dobby asked. Not a Thor exclaimed. Yes, said Spock. We have to make a call-out blog on Tumblr and tell them their ship is problematic.
The only way to solve
Nuclear.
this. Oh, back on beep boop beep.
The ship-wide Sexpollen-fueled orgy went on for hours before it wound down and everyone noticed Darth Vader was gone. Oh no, said Jim and Blair. He must be upset. I don't blame him, Anne of Green Gables said. Breaking out into an orgy wasn't terribly polite of us. Maybe Hulk be more sensitive about his language, Hulk added. We were rather tactless, reminding him of his past, Death agreed. Styles hate feeling of guilt. And so they all came around to realizing that Darth Vader had actually been a pretty had a pretty stressful day.
Yeah.
And they had all been quite rude about it, and they all felt like buttholes. Luckily, they could all work together to make it better. They picked up the remainder of cake and sent Jim and Blair out for a new one just like it. One of Anne of Green Gables' many wives were luckily a seamstress and able to save the dress. And they all cleaned up the party deck on the Starship Enterprises and decorated it with pink and white decorations, and Emperor Palpatine went and fixed the seating plan. Finally, they went up to
Everyone
Darth Vader.
coming together. Wow. It's really
Well, they came together
and then they came together.
Finally, they went up to Darth Vader's and Dobby's and Spock's room and called him to apologize. Darth Vader, we're super sorry your wedding got busted. I'm not Uhura skanked, but everyone ignored her.
From the corner, everyone's like, "You heard it, stop."
This is like a really communal moment
We
right
were
now.
like all, yeah.
Darth Vader finally opened the door slightly, his helm full of single crystalline tears. Really? We've cleaned up the place and made ready for the wedding, and we're sorry for not helping before, everyone except Uhura said. Okay then, Darth Vader replied, and finally came out of the room to see. The decorations were very pretty, and the new cake was even better than the old one. It was all that Darth Vader could have ever hoped for.
And then Palpatine busts out of the cake with a bunch of balls and farts. Oh, beep boop boop.
On Asgard, the wedding was starting. Loki was sobbing in his wedding dress at the altar while Nick Fury solemnly walked down the aisle. When suddenly, Spock, Dobby, and Thor broke in the doors yelling madly, "Stop the wedding!" Everyone stopped and turned to them, shocked. But why? Asked Odin. Because you can't marry these two by order of the space police, Dobby squeaked. But we ship it so hard, all the Asgardians yelled. Y'all need to check your privilege and your tumblers right now, Spock added.
And he always says that.
Check your privilege and your tumblers.
Live long and check your privilege and your tumblers.
Father, Loki doeseth not hath to marrieth the princess. I am also a prince of Asgard, Thor exclaimed. And then he explained to his father how he could actually marry the princess and they could still avoid a war. Meanwhile, all the Asgardians checked their tumblers and saw the call-out posts and immediately changed their ships to be non-problematic because they weren't assholes. And so Loki Loki ran off to ride through the glen with his hair flowing in the breeze, while Thor borrowed his wedding dress and took his place at the altar. So we're continuing? Odin asked. You okay with this, Princess Nick Fury? Motherfucker, said Princess Nick Fury. Does he look like a bitch? But since Thor did indeed not look like a bitch, but rather had sexy long hair and sexy muscles, the wedding continued, and they were all very happily married.
This is the best line in the
This
whole
is
story.
amazing. It says he did not indeed look like a bitch.
Afterwards, they all sat down to eat. Right after they had all bashed a pumpkin with their foreheads at the table to show their strength and prowess, as is custom in Asgard. Then they had many lovely dishes of apples and fruit soup and ranch dressing, which one screeching lady ate by the bucketful, and onions.
It was me.
Yeah. I'd
And
be
my
head
horse
first
son.
nervous.
A ranch trough.
And even worse, his son, a horse.
Horse.
And when the beautiful wedding was over the next day, Spock and Dobby went home to the starship Fisher-Price. The bridge was empty and deserted when they got there. Hello? Called Spock and Dobby. They went further into the dark ship until they got to the party deck, which was also dark. Suddenly, everyone jumped out yelling, "Surprise! It's wedding time!" And Spock and Dobby quickly ran to get changed into their wedding dresses and returned to the party deck just as Eric Cumberbatch set up the altar.
My Pope and yours.
The cake was a lovely pink strawberry cake with white marzipan roses, and the decorations all matched. It was very lovely. Then, down the aisle came the most beautiful sight they had ever seen. Darth Vader in a shimmering black wedding dress, striding confidently down to the altar. He was positively glowing. Darth
Just 'cause his helmet's
Vader!
shiny.
Darth Vader! Spock and Dobby said simultaneously. I've missed you guys, Darth Vader said. We've missed you too, Spock rumbled. And then the space pope, Benedict Bendersnatch, asked them, do you, Spock, take Dobby and Darth Vader to be space husbands forever and ever? Yes, that is logical, Spock answered. Do you, Dobby, take Spock and Darth Vader to be space husbands forever and ever? Yes, oh yes, squeaked Dobby. And do you, Darth Vader, take Spock and Dobby to be space husbands forever and ever? Yes. Oh, yes, Darth Vader answered. And just like that, they were married. And they hugged and kissed and had a giant party, and everyone got an extra hour in the ball pit, and they lived happily ever after. They all lived happily ever after, except for Loki. And we will literally never
a horse.
This is a cliffhanger.
They all got an extra hour in the ball pit? What a wedding.
Head damn.
Generous. Oh.
When the episode ends, check your underpants. Are you getting married to a bitch or not?
Not.
Indeed not. Oh my gosh.
Who wanteth to go with?
That was so fun. That was awesome. I am getting married to a bitch. Or not. I don't remember. Whichever one is good. That was so fun.
I think it's good to get married to a bitch.
Yeah.
Did she look like a bitch to you? No, maybe it's not. I'm not getting married.
No, it's not. Because
I'm not marrying any bitch.
Yeah.
I'm feeling like a skank hoe with an extra hour in the ball pit.
I just got a bunch of sex pollen all over. Wow. Forgot about the sex pollen for a second.
Danny?
Dan?
You married a bitch?
Yeah. Oh, hell nah. This is the biggest never. I love learning about all of the wedding culture. What happens in wizard weddings with all the screaming, the Asgardians with the pumpkin smashing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what this one was. Love it
ball
all.
Pit. Yeah.
Ball-Pit. Ball-Pit-een. Ball-Pit. I also love Uhura because skank.
She was really important.
Like I could watch this and listen and read this for forever. I think this is my inner monologue from now on.
I want to know what happens to Loki. Like, why did Loki not live happily ever after.
I know.
Because it sounded like the last we heard from Loki, he was about to go frolic in the breeze with his hair flowing. So
Yeah.
if
with his horse
anyone was going to
son.
live happily ever after, to me, that was the most guaranteed
Yeah.
happily ever
Totally.
after. So,
Whew.
boy,
Well,
wow.
you'll have to check Tumblr and see.
Yeah.
You have to
Well, I
check
gotta
your
get
privilege
Tumblr
and your
account.
Tumblrs.
Yeah.
Lindsay, what
Oh,
about
you
you?
guys. Wow. What a ride. What a time. We love you. Happy to see you see our crazy faces during this because you needed to like this is one where like reaction I think was very important.
If there was
Yeah.
ever a story to read live or to read
Yeah.
on video,
Yeah.
this is it.
This was it.
Glorious.
Well,
Wow. Well,
until we
Okay.
meet again, live long and
love
check
you.
your
Everybody
Tumblrs
grab a
and
bunch
your
of marzipan and just, take it easy.
yeah, I'm starving right now.
Okay. Mwah. Love you,
Nanu.
dongs.
Nanu. Oh, wait, that's
My
Mark and Mitchie.
Space